Welcome back to the channel, US Rare Coins News. Top 1, you might have a 50-cent coin in your house right now that collectors would pay thousands for, and most people spend these coins without ever realizing what they're holding. The craziest part is, the coin doesn't look rare at all, it looks old, heavy, maybe scratched and forgotten in a drawer somewhere, just another Kennedy half-dollar from 1776-1976. The kind people ignore every single day. But hidden among millions of bicentennial Kennedy half-dollars are a few extremely valuable versions, and one tiny detail can change everything. A woman in Florida discovered that completely by accident after inheriting a small tin box from her grandfather. Inside were old war medals, black and white photographs, and a handful of Kennedy half-dollars wrapped in faded tissue paper. At first, she thought they were just sentimental keepsakes, maybe worth a few bucks total, but one coin looked different, brighter, cleaner, almost glowing under the kitchen light. She almost dropped it into a Coinstar machine during a grocery run, but something told her to hold on to it. A week later, she walked into a coin shop just to satisfy her curiosity, and within seconds, the dealer's eyes widened. He carefully placed the coin under a magnifier, flipped it over, checked the edge, then quietly asked, "Do you know what you have here?" That ordinary-looking Kennedy half-dollar turned out to be a rare 40% silver bicentennial issue in exceptional condition, and by the end of the month, it reportedly sold for thousands to a serious collector. Now people across America are digging through coin jars, old piggy banks, dresser drawers, and inherited collections trying to find the same coin. Here's why this particular half-dollar is so important. In 1976, the United States celebrated 200 years of independence, and to honor the bicentennial, special Kennedy half-dollars were released with the dual date 1776-1976 on the front. Instead of the normal eagle design on the back, these coins featured Independence Hall, making them instantly recognizable once you know what to look for. But here's where the real treasure hunt begins. Most of these coins are only worth face value, which is exactly why valuable versions keep getting overlooked. The first thing you need to check is the edge of the coin. Seriously, this tiny detail changes everything. Grab your Kennedy half-dollar and hold it sideways under bright light. If you see a thick copper-colored stripe running around the edge, it's usually the common clad version, but if the edge looks solid silver with no copper showing, your pulse should start rising, because you may have a 40% silver version. Next, check the mint mark near Kennedy's neck on the front of the coin. If you see an S mint mark, that's a major clue, because many San Francisco bicentennial halves were struck in silver for collectors. Now look at the surfaces. Do they shine like a mirror, almost reflective enough to see your face? If yes, you could have a proof coin, and collectors love proof bicentennial halves with deep mirrored fields and frosted designs, especially if they've been preserved without scratches. But wait, because some of the biggest money comes from coins in incredibly high grades, coins with almost no wear, razor-sharp details, and blazing original luster. Those are unbelievably hard to find because most Kennedy half-dollars were tossed into circulation, banged around in cash drawers, or forgotten in storage for decades. That's why pristine examples can explode in value at auctions, especially when grading companies certify them at top mint state levels. And here's the scary part, millions of Americans still have these coins hidden away without knowing it. They're sitting in old bank rolls, family collections, garage sale boxes, casino souvenirs, even taped inside envelopes from the 1970s, completely unnoticed. Imagine finding one tonight in a forgotten coin jar, a coin you almost ignored because it only said half-dollar on it, only to discover collectors have been searching for that exact version for years. That's why coin hunters are obsessed with bicentennial Kennedy halves right now, because the valuable ones blend in perfectly with ordinary coins, and most people never check the details closely enough. So before you skip past another Kennedy half-dollar, stop, look at the edge, check the mint mark, inspect the shine, because one hidden silver bicentennial coin could turn an ordinary evening into the discovery of a lifetime. And if you think this half-dollar is unbelievable, wait until you hear about the Washington quarter with a tiny minting mistake so rare, experts say only a handful escaped into circulation, and one sold for more money than some people make in an entire year. Top 2, you could be holding a Kennedy $half worth thousands, and the craziest part is, most people treat this coin like loose change. The 1972 D Kennedy $half looks completely ordinary at first, dull silver color. JFK's familiar portrait, maybe a few scratches from decades of circulation, nothing about it screams valuable, which is exactly why people miss them every single day. But hidden among millions of these coins are rare examples collectors desperately search for, and some have sold for shocking amounts simply because almost nobody noticed the tiny details hiding in plain sight. A man in Colorado found that out after stopping at a small roadside antique shop during a weekend road trip. Near the cash register sat an old glass bowl filled with $half. Most looked worn and dirty, but one 1972 D coin caught his eye because it had an unusually bright shine under the dusty store lights. He almost spent 50 cents on it just for fun, but instead, he slipped it into his pocket and forgot about it for months. Later that winter, while watching a coin collecting video online, he suddenly remembered the coin and pulled it back out. The moment he checked the details under a lamp, his heart started racing. The surfaces looked cleaner than normal, the lettering was incredibly sharp, and the coin barely showed signs of wear. A few weeks later, a professional grading company confirmed it was a high-grade 1972 D Kennedy $half, and collectors were willing to pay serious money for it. That forgotten coin from a dusty antique shop turned into a treasure hiding in plain sight. And now, people everywhere are searching through old jars, bank rolls, inherited collections, and forgotten drawers hoping to find the same thing. Here's what makes the 1972 D Kennedy $half so fascinating. The D mint mark means it was struck in Denver, and while millions were made, most entered circulation immediately. That means they were tossed into cash registers, dropped into vending machines, carried through pockets, and damaged over decades of everyday use. So today, finding one with strong details and clean surfaces is much harder than most people realize. Here's exactly what to look for right now. First, grab any Kennedy $half dated 1972. Then check near Kennedy's neck on the front of the coin for the tiny D mint mark. Now tilt the coin under bright light, slowly rotate it back and forth. Do you see a bright spinning glow moving across the surface? Collectors call that mint luster, and it's one of the biggest signs your coin might be special. Next, inspect Kennedy's cheek and hair carefully. If the coin has very few scratches or dents, stop and take a closer look, because most 1972 D $half were heavily marked from circulation. Then flip the coin over and check the eagle on the back. Sharp feathers, bold lettering, and strong details can make a massive difference in value, especially on coins preserved in unusually high condition. But here's where things get really unbelievable. Some rare 1972 D Kennedy $half were struck so cleanly and preserved so perfectly that collectors compete fiercely for them today. We're talking about coins that somehow survived over 50 years without the heavy damage most others suffered. And because the difference between an ordinary coin and a valuable one can be tiny, many people accidentally spend them without realizing what they had. That's why coin hunters get excited every time they see an old Kennedy $half, because one overlooked detail can completely change the story. Imagine finding one tonight in a forgotten coin roll from the bank, or inside your grandparents' old collection box, a coin you almost ignored because it only said $half on the front. It happens more often than people think, and that's exactly what keeps collectors obsessed with the hunt. So before you walk past another Kennedy $half, slow down, check the date, look for the D mint mark, inspect the shine and the details, because one hidden 1972 D coin could be worth far more than anyone around you realizes. And if you think this Kennedy $half is shocking, wait until you hear about the tiny dime with a mint error so strange, experts thought it should have been impossible, until one example sold for enough money to completely change a family's life overnight. Top 3, someone paid nearly nothing for an old 1967 Kennedy $half at a yard sale, then discovered it could be worth thousands, and the wildest part is, these coins are still hiding in everyday homes across America right now. At first glance, the 1967 Kennedy half-dollar doesn't look special at all. It's worn, heavy, slightly dull with that old silver shine, the kind of coin people toss into jars and completely forget about for decades. But hidden inside certain 1967 half-dollars are details collectors obsess over, and if you know what to look for, you might suddenly see an ordinary 50-cent coin in a completely different way. One woman from Michigan learned that after buying an old wooden jewelry box at an estate sale for just a few dollars, inside were buttons, old receipts, tangled necklaces, and one lonely Kennedy half-dollar sitting in the corner under a layer of dust. She almost ignored it, until she noticed something strange. The coin looked brighter than modern quarters, heavier too, with a soft silver glow that seemed different from normal pocket change. Curious, she slipped it into her purse and later searched the date online, and that's when everything changed. She discovered the 1967 Kennedy half-dollar was made with 40% silver, something many Americans still don't realize today. But it got even crazier. After taking the coin to a dealer, she learned her particular example had exceptional condition, strong original luster, and incredibly sharp details, qualities that collectors pay serious money for. That forgotten coin from a dusty estate sale box suddenly became the center of attention. Now people everywhere are digging through old collections, dresser drawers, coffee cans, and inherited coin jars searching for hidden Kennedy half-dollar treasures. Here's why the 1967 coin is such a big deal. During the 1960s, silver prices were rising fast, and the U.S. Mint began removing silver from everyday coins. But the 1967 Kennedy half-dollar still contained 40% silver, which means even worn examples already carry extra value compared to regular modern coins. And because millions circulated heavily, finding one today in stunning condition is much harder than most people think. So here's exactly what you need to do right now. First, find any Kennedy half-dollar dated 1967. Unlike many other coins, you won't see a mint mark on this one because special mint marks were temporarily removed during those years, which already makes these coins unique to collectors. Now hold the coin sideways and check the edge carefully under bright light. If you notice a silver-colored edge without the strong copper stripe you see on modern coins, that's your first big clue. The coin should also feel heavier in your hand, almost solid compared to today's loose change. Next, tilt the coin slowly back and forth. Do you see bright cartwheel-like flashes moving across the surface? That's called mint luster, and collectors love it, especially on coins that avoided heavy circulation damage. Now look closely at Kennedy's hair, cheek, and jawline. If the details look sharp and clean with very few scratches, you could have a much more valuable example than you realize. Then flip the coin over and inspect the eagle on the reverse side. Strong feather details, crisp lettering, and smooth surfaces can dramatically increase collector demand. But here's where things become unbelievable. Some rare 1967 Kennedy half-dollars with extraordinary preservation have sold for shocking amounts because so few survived in top condition. Remember, these coins circulated during one of the busiest periods in American coin history. They were tossed into registers, bounced through vending machines, and scratched up for decades. That means truly pristine examples are incredibly scarce today, and collectors fight hard to own them. And the scary part is, many people still spend silver Kennedy half-dollars without even realizing it. Think about that for a second, a coin containing real silver, possibly worth far more than face value, sitting unnoticed in a random jar somewhere. That's why coin hunters constantly check old half-dollars before spending them, because every once in a while, somebody finds a hidden gem that changes everything. So tonight, before you ignore that old Kennedy coin in your drawer, check the date, check the edge, look for that silver shine, because one overlooked 1967 Kennedy half-dollar could turn out to be the treasure you never knew you had. And if you think this silver half-dollar is incredible, wait until you hear about the rare Lincoln penny with a tiny error so mysterious, collectors once believed only a few examples existed, until another one suddenly appeared in circulation decades later.